The email arrived at 6:17 a.m., perfectly timed to feel like destiny. Subject, recalibrate, an executive renewal retreat. Maya Chen read it on the subway, the tunnel lights stuttering like a bad heartbeat. She was already exhausted, already hollowed out by sprint reviews and midnight deploys, by the quiet terror of being replaceable. The message promised restoration, alignment, clarity. It promised a long weekend at Blackwood Summit. Private helicopters, chef-driven meals, no phones, no distractions. It promised that leadership had finally noticed. By the time she looked up, her reflection in the dark window looked older than it had yesterday. She accepted. By noon, the floor's Slack channel had ignited. Only 12 invites. VPs, directors, senior engineers, the sharpest edges of the company blade. A rumor bubbled up that the CEO himself had curated it. Another rumor said it was a loyalty test. Maya didn't correct anyone. She just packed. Blackwood Summit rose out of the mountains like a thought you don't want to finish. The helicopter ride was silent except for the rhythmic slap of blades and the way the forest below swallowed light. When they landed, the air smelled clean enough to hurt. Pines. Cold stone. Money. The lodge was all glass and angles, perched over a ravine that fell away into mist. A long steel sign at the entrance read "Welcome, Leaders" in a font that felt like a warning. Staff in charcoal uniforms moved with synchronized politeness. Their smiles were identical. Their eyes were not. Maya recognized faces immediately. Jonah Klein, growth architect, who smiled like a billboard. Elena Ruiz from finance, immaculate and remote. Victor Hale, CTO, with his famous calm, his hands steady even when layoffs cut through teams like frost. 12 in total. All chosen. All watched. Phones were collected at the door and sealed in numbered pouches. Digital fasting, the concierge said gently. A gift to yourselves. Inside, the lodge hummed. Not music, something lower. Infrastructural. A vibration that felt like the building was thinking. Floor-to-ceiling windows revealed the forest pressed close, trees standing too straight, as if they'd been trained. Dinner was spectacular. Candlelight. Bone china. A menu that read like poetry. Conversation loosened under wine. Laughter arrived in careful bursts. They talked metrics first, then families, then dreams they hadn't admitted aloud in years. For a moment, Maya felt the knot in her chest loosen. Then the lights dimmed. A man stepped into the circle of firelight. Tall. Gray hair pulled back. A presence that didn't ask for attention, it took it. He wore black, unadorned, as if decoration were beneath him. Welcome, he said. His voice carried without effort. I'm Arthur Blackwood. A few gasps. The name had weight. Founder. Visionary. Ghost. He'd stepped down years ago after a scandal no one could ever quite summarize. You've been invited here because you matter, Blackwood continued. Because you shape outcomes. Because when choices are made, you're in the room. He smiled, thin and pleased. This retreat is about truth. A staff member wheeled in a pedestal draped in cloth. Blackwood pulled it away to reveal a glass box. Inside were 12 sleek bands, matte black, faintly glowing. Biometric monitors, he said. Heart rate. Stress. Focus. Transparency is healing. The bands were distributed. Maya slid hers on. It tightened gently, warm against her wrist, like a pulse learning her name. Blackwood's gaze swept the room. Tomorrow, we begin. That night, Maya couldn't sleep. Her room was a study in luxury, stone walls, wool throws, a bed that promised oblivion. But the forest outside pressed against the glass, branches scraping softly, insistently. Somewhere below, the ravine breathed. At 2:11 a.m., her band vibrated. Notification, elevated stress detected. Breathe. She sat up, heart racing. The vibration stopped. The hum of the lodge deepened, like a throat clearing. In the hallway, a door down the corridor creaked open. Footsteps. Then a scream, short, sharp, cut off as if someone had clapped a hand over it. Maya froze. Silence returned, thick and deliberate. Morning came with a bell. Breakfast was served promptly at 7. Everyone was there. Everyone smiled too wide. Jonah joked about jet lag. Elena sipped tea with surgical calm. Victor checked his watch. No one mentioned the scream. Blackwood joined them, serene. Today, he said, we play. Staff led them to a subterranean wing Maya hadn't noticed before. Concrete corridors. No windows. Fluorescent lights that flattened faces into masks. They entered a vast room marked with white lines on the floor, circles within squares, arrows pointing nowhere. On the far wall, a screen flickered to life. Round 1, Optimization. Rules appeared in clean, corporate language. Maximize outcomes. Minimize losses. Only winners advance. Blackwood watched from a raised platform, hands folded. This is not a punishment, he said. It's a mirror. A door slammed shut behind them. Locks engaged with a sound like teeth. The bands on their wrists glowed brighter. Maya felt the floor tremble. Somewhere in the lodge, something started counting down. And for the first time since she joined the company, Maya understood the truth with perfect clarity. This retreat was never about rest. It was about survival. The countdown ended without ceremony. No buzzer. No explosion. Just a soft, polite chime, like a calendar reminder you ignore until it ruins your day. The screen refreshed. Task, reallocate resources to achieve optimal efficiency. Constraint, one participant must be removed. Time limit, 30 minutes. Silence spread through the room like a spill no one wanted to clean. Removed how? Jonah asked, forcing a laugh that cracked halfway through. This is a simulation, right? The bands on their wrists pulsed in unison. Warm. Insistent. Victor stepped forward, eyes scanning the room, already calculating. Let's not panic. There's always an abstraction layer. Removed could mean disqualified. Eliminated from the exercise. A panel slid open in the wall with a hydraulic sigh. Inside were 12 podiums, each with a single button and a small screen displaying a name. Their names. Maya's stomach dropped when she saw her own. Arthur Blackwood's voice echoed from hidden speakers. In every organization, redundancy is inevitable. Tough decisions are leadership's burden. Elena folded her arms. This is sick. Is it? Blackwood replied calmly. You've all signed off on headcount reductions. You've justified them with charts and forecasts. Today, you feel the math. The screens on the podiums lit up with live metrics, heart rate, stress spikes, eye movement. Their fear quantified. Monetized. Maya's band tightened slightly, as if encouraging honesty. We vote? Jonah asked. No, Blackwood said. You optimize. A timer appeared in the corner of the screen. 29:58. The room changed. Walls shifted, panels sliding into place. The floor markings illuminated, forming pathways, some leading to the podiums, others to darkened alcoves marked data. Victor took control immediately. Okay. Okay. Listen. This is clearly a behavioral test. They want to see collaboration under pressure. Bullshit, muttered Rhea, the head of UX, they want blood. A scream echoed faintly through the walls. Distant, distorted, like sound through water. Maya flinched. That wasn't here, was it? Blackwood didn't answer. Elena moved toward one of the data alcoves. Inside, screens flickered to life, displaying dossiers. Performance reviews. Slack messages. Private emails. Jesus, she whispered. They have everything. Maya stepped beside her. On one screen, she saw her own late-night message to a friend, "I don't know how much longer I can do this." Another showed a pull request comment she'd written years ago, sharp, dismissive, the kind of cruelty that felt small at the time. Across the room, Jonah laughed nervously as he scrolled through his file. Okay, not great optics, but, hey, growth numbers don't lie, right? Rhea slammed her fist into the wall. This is manipulation. Victor stood at the center, watching everyone, eyes cold now. Focused. We need criteria, he said. If this is optimization, then the least critical node is. Don't, Maya said quietly. He looked at her. Really looked. You know how this works. The timer ticked down. 21:12. A low rumble vibrated through the floor. Somewhere, machinery woke up. One of the podium screens flashed red, non-engagement detected. A man named Paul, legal counsel, quiet, forgettable, stood frozen near the wall. His band pulsed violently. I don't understand, he said. I can't, this isn't. The floor beneath him split open. Not all at once. Slowly. Like the building was thinking it over. Paul screamed as the gap widened, revealing darkness below. Mechanical arms emerged, jointed and precise, gripping his legs. No, wait, please. The arms pulled. The floor sealed shut with a click. Silence followed. No blood. No mess. Just 12 people reduced to 11. The screen updated. Resource reallocated. Efficiency plus 8%. Maya vomited onto the concrete. The timer reset. Round continues. Jonah was crying openly now. We didn't choose him. It just happened. Blackwood's voice returned, almost gentle. Inaction is a choice. The room felt smaller. Rhea backed away from the podiums. I'm not doing this. Her band flashed red. NON compliance. She ran. The exit doors didn't open. The walls shifted again, herded her toward a narrow corridor that hadn't been there before. The lights flickered as she disappeared inside. They heard her footsteps fade. Then a wet, abrupt sound. Like a bag hitting the floor. The screen updated. Efficiency plus 15%. Elena wiped her face, eyes hollow. We have to play. Victor nodded. We choose the least valuable asset. Maya stared at him. You mean the person you can justify losing? He didn't argue. They clustered around the data screens now, desperation sharpening their focus. Flaws became weapons. Jonah's inflated metrics. Elena's offshore accounts. Maya's mental health disclosures. The bands glowed brighter as fear spiked. Maya felt something crack inside her, not panic, but clarity. This was the company, stripped of branding. This was what optimization really meant. She looked up at the camera lenses embedded in the walls. Arthur Blackwood watched, satisfied. The timer dropped below 5 minutes. Somewhere deep in the lodge, the machines waited. And Maya realized the most horrifying truth of all. They weren't being forced to become monsters. They were being allowed to be exactly who they'd always been. By the time the doors unlocked, the word choice had lost all meaning. They were herded into a corridor lit with strips of white light that buzzed like insects trapped behind glass. The walls were smooth, seamless, no seams, no handles, no mercy. The floor sloped downward, gently enough that it felt like a suggestion rather than a command. They followed it anyway. People always did. Maya's band had stopped vibrating. That terrified her more than the pulsing had. The corridor opened into a vast chamber shaped like an amphitheater. Tiered platforms descended toward a central pit. In the pit stood a long conference table, polished wood, leather chairs, water pitchers placed with absurd care. Above it hung a massive screen. Round 2, Deliverables. Arthur Blackwood appeared again, not in person this time, but on the screen. His face filled it, pores and wrinkles rendered in merciless high definition. Innovation, he said, requires sacrifice. Deadlines don't care about comfort. Markets don't pause for empathy. The screen split into 11 smaller windows. Each showed a live feed of a different room somewhere in the lodge. Maya's breath caught when she recognized one of them. Bedrooms. Their bedrooms. Her own room appeared in the top corner. The bed neatly made. Her backpack by the door. The window reflecting the forest like a dark eye. Elena whispered, "Why are you showing us this?" Blackwood smiled. "Because you're about to ship." The rules appeared. Each team must complete its assigned deliverable. Failure to deliver results in termination. Termination is permanent. Teams. The floor beneath them shifted again, panels sliding apart. Invisible walls rose between clusters of chairs, dividing them into groups of 3. Maya found herself separated with Jonah and Victor. Elena was pulled away, her face vanishing behind a glass partition. Rhea and Paul were gone. Others, too. The number felt wrong. A tablet rose from the table in front of them. Team C, Incident Response. Victor picked it up immediately. "Okay. We can do this. Read." Maya's hands were shaking. Jonah was breathing too fast. The tablet displayed a video clip. Grainy. Night vision. A woman sat tied to a chair in a concrete room. Her mouth was gagged. Her eyes were wide and red, veins spiderwebbing across the whites. Maya recognized her. "Lena," Jonah whispered. "Customer support." "She on board my team." "Was," Blackwood corrected gently. "Your deliverable is to identify the root cause of a critical failure." The tablet updated with text. A system outage resulted in catastrophic user harm. Determine accountability. Apply corrective action. Victor swallowed. "This is a psychological test. They're mapping our responses." The woman in the video thrashed against her restraints, the chair scraping loudly against the floor. The sound echoed through hidden speakers, amplified until it filled the chamber. Maya felt bile rise in her throat. What happens if we don't? Blackwood's eyes flicked toward the timer now counting down on the screen. 1947. "Then the outage continues," he said. "At scale." Across the chamber, Maya heard shouting. Another team arguing. A man sobbing. Somewhere, metal screamed against metal. Victor began analyzing the data packets on the tablet, logs, timestamps, emails. "The bug originated in customer support escalation," he said quickly. "Failure to flag priority." Jonah shook his head violently. "No. No, that's not, she didn't have access to." Maya looked closer at the logs. Something was wrong. Timestamps overlapped. Code commits were altered. "This is fabricated," she said. "They want us to blame her." Victor didn't look up. "They want resolution." The woman in the video made a sound, muffled, animal. Tears streamed down her face. Jonah backed away from the table. I won't do this. His band flashed red. NON compliance. The floor beneath Jonah's feet dropped out. He didn't fall far. Maybe 6 feet. Enough to knock the air from his lungs. He landed hard. In a narrow trench that sealed shut above him, leaving only a transparent panel. Jonah lay there gasping, eyes wild. The screen updated. Deliverable at risk. Victor turned to Maya, voice urgent. We need consensus. Now. Maya stared at Jonah trapped beneath the glass. He pressed his palms against it, leaving foggy handprints. Please, he mouthed. The woman in the video screamed as something off-camera whirred to life. Maya felt something cold settle in her chest. Not fear. Understanding. This is performance theater, she said softly. If we blame her, we live. If we don't. Victor nodded. Then we die. The timer dipped below 5 minutes. Maya closed her eyes. She thought of the emails she'd ignored. The tickets marked low priority. The way the company talked about users like abstractions, churn, friction, noise. She opened her eyes and looked straight into the camera. The root cause, she said clearly, was inadequate support training compounded by leadership pressure to reduce resolution times. Victor's head snapped toward her. What are you doing? Assigning accountability, Maya said. Her voice didn't shake. Up the chain. The screen froze. Blackwood's smile faded, for the first time. Interesting, he said. The woman's restraints loosened. She collapsed forward, sobbing. Jonah's trench opened. He coughed, dragged himself out, shaking violently. The screen updated. Deliverable accepted. Risk redistributed. Across the chamber, a scream cut short. Another team had failed. The walls shifted again, herding survivors toward the exit. Maya's band glowed hot against her skin. Victor stared at her, something like awe, and fear, in his eyes. You just made an enemy, he said. Maya wiped her mouth, tasting blood. I think I always had one. As they were forced down the next corridor, deeper into the lodge's spine, Maya realized the game had changed. Optimization was over. Now it was about defiance. And Arthur Blackwood did not tolerate failed experiments. The corridor narrowed until their shoulders brushed concrete. No one spoke. Speech felt dangerous now, like any word might trigger another rule, another metric, another silent judgment. The lodge no longer pretended to be luxurious. Here, it was raw infrastructure, pipes sweating overhead, cables bound like veins, the smell of ozone and cold metal. Maya's band burned against her wrist. Not vibrated. Burned. A door irised open ahead of them, revealing a space that looked almost friendly. Carpet. Warm lighting. A circle of modern chairs. On one wall, a slogan in brushed steel letters. Together, we achieve more. Victor let out a short, broken laugh. They're mocking us. Arthur Blackwood stood in the center of the room this time, in the flesh. No screens. No distance. His presence filled the space, as solid and undeniable as gravity. Welcome to round 3, he said. Synergy. The door sealed behind them with a heavy finality. Maya counted heads. 8. Her chest tightened. She didn't know when they'd lost the others. No screams. No announcements. Just subtraction. Blackwood gestured to the chairs. Please. Sit. This is a collaborative exercise. Against every instinct, they sat. The lights dimmed slightly. The hum deepened. The bands on their wrists synchronized, pulsing together like a shared heartbeat. Organizations love the word family, Blackwood said conversationally. It encourages loyalty, forgiveness, silence. He paced slowly, shoes whispering against the carpet. But families have rules. And when someone breaks them. A screen slid down behind him. A live feed appeared. Elena Ruiz was strapped to a vertical frame, arms spread, wrists locked into metal cuffs. Her face was bruised. One eye was swelling shut. Maya sucked in a sharp breath. Let her go. Blackwood ignored her. Elena violated trust. Financial obfuscation. Moral hazard. Elena lifted her head weakly. You told me to, she rasped. You said. Blackwood raised a finger. The sound cut out. Today, he said, you decide how to respond to a toxic team member. The rules appeared, projected onto the floor between them. Option A, terminate the individual. Option B, absorb the consequences as a team. Below the text, a simple bar graph labeled pain distribution. Maya felt her stomach drop. What does absorb mean? Blackwood smiled. Synergy. The bar graph animated. Option A showed a single spike. Option B showed 8 smaller ones. Victor leaned forward, eyes darting. This is coercion. This is leadership, Blackwood replied. Do you protect the group by cutting out the infection? Or do you share the burden? Elena struggled against her restraints. The metal creaked. Her breath came in wet gasps. Please, she said, voice suddenly restored. Maya, don't. The screen flickered. A mechanical arm slid into frame beside Elena's leg. Its tip unfolded into something sharp and precise. Jonah, still alive, somehow, began to sob quietly. We can't. We can't keep doing this. Maya's heart hammered so hard she felt dizzy. The band tightened, responding. Victor stood. We choose option A, he said quickly. This ends it cleanly. Maya stared at him. Cleanly. It's one person, he snapped. Versus all of us. Blackwood's eyes gleamed. Efficiency speaks. Maya looked at the others. Fear everywhere. Calculation. Relief at the possibility of not being the one. She thought of the times she'd stayed silent in meetings. The times she'd watched someone else get blamed and felt grateful it wasn't her. No, she said. Victor rounded on her. Are you insane? Maya stood, legs shaking but locked. You want us to believe this is about choice. It's not. It's about compliance. Blackwood tilted his head. And defiance? Is expensive, Maya said. I know. I've watched people pay for it. She stepped closer to the screen, meeting Elena's terrified gaze. But synergy doesn't mean sacrifice. It means shared responsibility. Victor laughed harshly. You're going to get us killed. Maybe, Maya said. But not like this. She turned to the others. If we choose option B, we take the pain together. No scapegoats. Silence. The bar graph pulsed, waiting. One by one, trembling hands rose. 7 votes. Blackwood's smile vanished completely. So be it, he said softly. The light snapped off. Pain exploded through Maya's body. Not in one place, everywhere. Like electricity poured directly into her nerves. She screamed, sound tearing out of her throat. Around her, others screamed too, a chorus of agony that filled the room. The bands on their wrists blazed white-hot, drilling into flesh, flooding their systems with controlled, calibrated suffering. Enough to break. Not enough to kill. Maya collapsed to her knees, vision swimming. She tasted copper. Somewhere nearby, someone vomited. Someone else laughed hysterically. After what felt like hours, but was probably seconds, the pain stopped. The lights returned. Maya lay curled on the floor, shaking uncontrollably. Her band smoked faintly. On the screen, Elena slumped forward, unconscious but alive. The restraints released. She fell, hitting the floor hard. Option B accepted. Synergy achieved. Blackwood looked almost displeased. "You surprise me," he said. "Most groups fracture by now." Maya dragged herself upright, using a chair for support. Her entire body screamed in protest. "What do you want?" she demanded hoarsely. Blackwood stepped closer, lowering his voice. "I want to see what happens when people like you stop pretending the system can be fixed." The door opened. "Round 4 awaits," he said. "And it doesn't reward martyrs." As they were forced onward, bodies broken but wills sharpening, Maya realized something terrifying. Blackwood wasn't trying to break them. He was trying to prove a point. And whatever waited in the next round would be designed to finally convince her she was wrong. They moved like survivors of a shipwreck, limping, silent, eyes hollowed by pain. The next corridor was colder. The air itself felt sharpened, thin enough to slice lungs with every breath. Frost clung to exposed pipes. Their footsteps echoed too loudly, as if the building wanted them to hear how few they'd become. 7. That was all that remained. Maya's wrist throbbed where the band had burned her skin. A blister had formed beneath the metal, oozing faintly. She welcomed the pain. It anchored her. Reminded her she was still real. The corridor opened into a vast open-plan office. Rows of empty desks stretched into darkness. Monitors flickered on and off, displaying dashboards, KPIs, cascading numbers that meant nothing now. Motivational posters hung crooked on the walls. Alignment drives success. Disagreement is drag. At the center stood a long glass table. Above it, a single word glowed in white light. Alignment. Arthur Blackwood waited at the head of the table, hands clasped behind his back. He looked refreshed. Energized. As if their suffering nourished him. Organizations fail, he said calmly, not because of bad ideas, but because of misalignment. The screens around the room snapped on. Each showed a live feed of one of the remaining participants' biometric data. Heart rate. Cortisol spikes. Fear, graphed in real time. Then the screens changed again. Each screen now showed a confession. Private recordings. Some clearly filmed earlier. Some, live. Jonah appeared on one screen, eyes red, shoulders slumped. "I pushed features I knew weren't ready," he said. "I told my team to ship anyway. We hurt people." Another screen showed a woman Maya barely knew, Diane from HR, whispering, "I buried complaints. I protected leadership." Maya's own face appeared last. Her throat tightened. "I stayed," she heard herself say. "Even when I knew it was wrong. Because leaving felt like failure." Blackwood nodded approvingly. Truth is alignment's first step. The table illuminated. With 7 glowing handprints. "Place your hands," Blackwood instructed. "Synchronize." Victor hesitated. "What happens if we don't?" Blackwood smiled thinly. "Then you remain outliers." No one needed him to explain what happened to outliers. One by one, they placed their hands on the glass. The moment Maya's palm touched the surface, the room shifted. The office dissolved. The walls fell away, replaced by projections, memories rendered at full scale. Maya stood suddenly inside a conference room from 3 years ago. She recognized it instantly. The smell of burnt coffee. The buzzing lights. She watched herself sitting at the table, younger, quieter. A colleague, Sam, was speaking passionately. Warning about a flawed algorithm. Bias. Harm. I think we should slow this down, Sam said. If we launch like this. The projected Victor, real Victor's past self, cut him off. We don't have the luxury. Maya watched herself look down. Say nothing. The memory froze. Blackwood's voice echoed. Alignment requires pruning. Sam appeared beside her now, not as a projection, but something closer. He looked at her with tired eyes. You could have helped, he said. Her chest ached. I know. The scene shattered. Jonah screamed. Maya spun to see him clawing at the glass table, his memory playing out around him. A teammate being laid off over Zoom. Jonah smiling professionally while the man begged for more time. The table pulsed. Misalignment detected. Victor tried to pull his hand away. The glass liquefied instantly, swallowing his fingers, then his hand. He screamed as the surface hardened again, trapping him in place. Stay aligned, Blackwood warned. Another participant, Diane, collapsed, convulsing as her screen flashed red. Value conflict. Her band detonated with a sharp crack. Not an explosion. A precise, internal rupture. Diane dropped, eyes wide, mouth open in a silent scream that never ended. The system updated. Alignment improved. Maya's stomach twisted violently. She wanted to look away but couldn't. The table held her there, forcing her to witness. Blackwood moved among them like a conductor. You see. Unity demands sacrifice. Elena, still alive, barely, whispered, this isn't alignment. It's obedience. Blackwood stopped in front of her. They're the same thing in a functioning system. The projections returned. This time, Maya stood inside the future. She saw dashboards celebrating record growth. Headlines praising innovation. And beneath it all, lawsuits buried. Users harmed. People erased. She felt the temptation then. The ease of it. How simple it would be to give in. To agree. To let the system carry her weight. The table vibrated violently. Final alignment check. Blackwood faced them. One of you still resists. His gaze locked onto Maya. You, he said softly. You introduce noise. The glass beneath her hand heated rapidly. Her skin sizzled. Align, Blackwood urged. Accept the logic. Or be removed. Maya screamed, not in pain, but in rage. You don't want alignment, she shouted. You want silence. The room shook. For the first time, alarms sounded, shrill, panicked. System instability detected. The projections flickered wildly. The office glitched, walls tearing open to reveal raw concrete and wiring beneath. Victor, face twisted in agony, laughed suddenly. She's right, he gasped. This isn't leadership. It's rot. Blackwood's expression hardened. Then you're all replaceable. He raised his hand. The table surged with power. And somewhere deep within the lodge, something fundamental broke. Lights exploded. Screens shattered. The hum became a roar. Maya yanked her hand free as the glass cracked apart, tearing her skin. The room plunged into darkness. Emergency lights flickered on. Blackwood stood alone at the center, his calm finally cracked by something like anger. This was supposed to end you, he said quietly. Maya stood, bleeding, shaking, but unbroken. No, she said. It was supposed to prove you right. Sirens wailed. The lodge was no longer under his complete control. And as the walls groaned and systems failed around them, Maya realized round 5 hadn't ended in alignment. It had ended in rebellion. And Blackwood would not forgive that. The lodge screamed. Not metaphorically, literally. Metal shrieked as systems fought themselves. Emergency lights strobed red, bathing the broken office in the color of exposed muscle. Somewhere far below, something massive powered down wrong, like an engine tearing itself apart. Maya staggered as the floor lurched. Jonah grabbed her arm, steadying her. His face was gray, eyes unfocused. "Tell me this isn't another test." "It's not," Maya said, though she wasn't sure. Her wrist throbbed, blood slicking her palm. The band still clung to her skin, cracked now, flickering like a dying star. Arthur Blackwood stood amid the chaos, unmoving. The calm he wore like armor was splintering. For the first time, he looked old. "This is what misalignment does," he shouted over the sirens. "It destroys systems." Victor laughed, a raw, broken sound. His hand was still fused to the shattered table, fingers torn and bleeding. "No," he gasped. "This is what truth does." The ceiling ruptured. A panel crashed down behind them, showering sparks. Through the gap, Maya saw a maintenance shaft yawning upward into darkness. "Elena," Maya called. "Can you walk?" Elena pushed herself up from the floor, trembling violently. I think so." Another alarm blared. Failsafe engaged. Escalation protocol initiated. Blackwood's eyes lit with something like relief. "Good," he said softly. "If the system can't be corrected." A thunderous boom cut him off. The far wall exploded inward. Not fire, force. Heavily armored figures stormed into the room, visors opaque, movements precise and inhumanly synchronized. They carried weapons that hummed with low-frequency menace. "Security," Jonah whispered. "Private." Blackwood turned toward them, spreading his hands. "Contain the outliers," he ordered. "Preserve the core." The figures didn't hesitate. They opened fire. The weapons didn't shoot bullets. They fired pulses. Compressed waves of sound and electricity. One blast caught Diane's lifeless body, reducing it to a twitching heap of burned fabric and bone. Another struck a man near the door, lifting him off his feet and slamming him into the wall with a sound like meat hitting stone. Jonah screamed and ran. Maya grabbed Elena and pulled her toward the maintenance shaft. Victor wrenched his hand free from the table with a howl, leaving 2 fingers behind. Blood sprayed. He stumbled after them, face twisted in agony and fury. "This way!" Maya shouted. They climbed. The shaft was narrow and vertical, ladder rungs slick with condensation. Above them, the lodge groaned like a wounded animal. Below, the room filled with smoke and the crackle of weapons. Maya climbed first, muscles screaming. Elena followed, sobbing softly with each rung. Victor came last, one-handed, teeth clenched so hard Maya thought they might shatter. A pulse blast slammed into the shaft wall beneath them, vibrating the ladder violently. "Hurry!" Jonah screamed from above. He'd already reached a hatch, kicking at it desperately. The hatch burst open, spilling them into a server hall. Rows upon rows of towering black racks stretched into darkness, LEDs blinking like a city of hostile stars. The air was frigid, loud with cooling fans. Data, Blackwood's true god, hummed around them. Jonah collapsed to his knees, laughing hysterically. "We're in the brain. We're inside it." Victor staggered forward, eyes wild. "This place runs everything. Locks. Traps. Bands." Maya's pulse quickened. "Then we shut it down." Elena stared at her. "How?" Maya looked at her wrist. The band flickered weakly, cracked casing revealing exposed circuitry. "These things read us," she said. "But they also listen." She tore the band free with a scream, skin ripping. The pain was blinding, but the band sparked violently, emitting a shrill feedback whine. Around them, server lights flickered. Victor understood instantly. Feedback loop, he said hoarsely. If we overload the biometric inputs. Jonah was already tearing at his own band, crying out. As it burned him. Elena hesitated only a second before doing the same. Four bands hit the floor, sparking, shrieking in dissonant harmony. The server hall lights dimmed. Somewhere below, the weapon's hum faltered. System error. Data integrity compromised. Blackwood's voice boomed through hidden speakers, distorted now, furious. Stop. Maya grabbed a fire axe mounted on the wall, corporate safety theater made real. She brought it down on the nearest server rack. Sparks erupted. The fans screamed and died. Victor joined her, smashing consoles with his good hand. Jonah followed, sobbing and laughing as he destroyed years of collected data, metrics, profiles, sins quantified and stored. Elena watched the door, terror etched into her face. They're coming. Boots thundered outside. Maya swung again and again, arms numb, lungs burning. Each destroyed server felt like tearing out one of Blackwood's organs. The lights went out completely. For one heartbeat, there was silence. Then the emergency generators failed. Darkness swallowed the lodge. In the black, something howled, not human. Not machine. The sound of a system dying without understanding why. The door to the server hall burst open. Maya raised the axe, ready to die swinging. But no one came through. Instead, the floor beneath them shuddered violently. Victor stared into the dark, realization dawning. The ravine, he whispered. The foundation. This place is built like a spine over it. A deep, structural crack echoed through the mountain. The lodge was collapsing. Move! Maya shouted. They ran blindly through the server hall, guided only by emergency exit signs flickering weakly. Behind them, something crashed, racks toppling, concrete giving way. They burst through an exit door into freezing night air. The forest roared around them. Wind howled. Trees bent violently as the lodge behind them began to tear itself apart, glass shattering, steel screaming as the structure slid toward the ravine. At the edge, Arthur Blackwood stood alone on a balcony, silhouetted against the chaos. For a moment, Maya met his gaze across the distance. No hatred. Just certainty. The lodge gave way. Blackwood disappeared into the darkness below as the mountain swallowed his creation whole. Maya collapsed onto the forest floor, chest heaving. Sirens wailed faintly in the distance now, not the lodges, but something else. External. Real. Jonah lay beside her, staring at the sky. Did we win? Maya closed her eyes, blood and snow mixing beneath her. No, she said softly. We survived escalation. And she knew, deep in her bones, that the system Arthur Blackwood built didn't die with him. It was already out there. Waiting for the next retreat. They found them at dawn. Helicopters thundered overhead, blades slicing the mist apart. Men and women in rescue gear moved through the wreckage with stunned precision, as if their training hadn't prepared them for a place like this. Steel speared through trees, glass embedded in rock, the mountain torn open like a wound. Maya woke with frost in her hair and dried blood on her hands. For a moment, she didn't remember where she was. Then the smell hit her. Burned circuitry, pine sap, something coppery and wrong, and the memories came back all at once. She screamed. A medic dropped to her knees beside her instantly, hands gentle but firm. Hey, you're safe. You're safe now. Safe. The word felt obscene. Jonah was wrapped in a thermal blanket nearby, staring into nothing. Elena sat against a tree, arms around her knees, rocking slightly. Victor lay on a stretcher, pale as paper, what remained of his hand bandaged thickly. He was alive. Somehow. Maya was loaded into a helicopter, the noise-swallowing thought. As the ground fell away, she saw the ravine clearly for the first time. The lodge was gone. Not ruined. Not damaged. Erased. Weeks later, the story the world heard was clean. A tragic accident during a corporate leadership retreat. A structural failure. An isolated incident. There were investigations. Committees. Carefully worded apologies. Blackwood Summit became a legal nightmare, then a footnote. Arthur Blackwood was declared dead, no body recovered, but enough debris to satisfy the paperwork. The company rebranded. Maya watched it all unfold from a hospital bed, her wrist wrapped in gauze, nerves permanently damaged. She couldn't wear a watch anymore. Anything tightening around her arm made her panic. A lawyer came first. Then another. Then a woman from Employee Wellness, with a voice trained to soothe and a tablet full of forms. They wanted statements. They wanted consistency. They wanted silence. We recommend you don't discuss subjective experiences, the wellness woman said gently. Trauma can distort perception. Maya looked her in the eye. Or clarify it. The woman smiled, professionally, and slid a document across the table. A non-disclosure agreement thick enough to stop a bullet. Jonah signed his. Elena didn't. Victor hesitated, then signed with his left hand, jaw clenched, eyes full of something like shame. Maya pushed the document back. No, she said. The smile vanished. They discharged her 3 days later. Life was functional. She moved into a small apartment with uneven floors and windows that didn't seal properly. She slept with the lights on. When she closed her eyes, she still felt the table beneath her palm, the heat, the demand to conform. Sometimes she dreamed of Arthur Blackwood, not falling, not dying, but standing in another room, another building, watching another group sit down at another polished table. In the dreams, he always smiled. The first email arrived a month later. Subject: Thought leadership opportunity. She deleted it without opening it. The second came from Jonah. I think they're doing it again, he wrote. Different name. Different place. Same language. Maya's hands shook as she typed back. How do you know? Because they asked me to consult. She didn't sleep that night. Instead, she searched. Quietly. Obsessively. And once she knew what to look for, she saw it everywhere. Immersive executive experiences. Radical accountability retreats. High-trust, high-intensity leadership environments. Different companies. Different founders. Same philosophy. Optimization. Alignment. Sacrifice. She found a forum, half-buried, encrypted, hard to reach. People there spoke carefully, in fragments. Whispers of retreats that went wrong. People who came back changed. People who didn't come back at all. She told her story. At first, no one responded. Then one message appeared. He taught them well. No name. No timestamp. Just that. Maya shut the laptop and sat in the dark, heart pounding. Weeks passed. Then one night, her phone buzzed with a notification she didn't remember enabling. Unknown device detected nearby. Her blood ran cold. She checked the locks. The windows. Nothing. The phone buzzed again. New message received. No sender. No number. Just text. Postmortems are for failures. Her breath hitched. Systems evolve. The message vanished before she could reply. Maya sat very still, listening to the building breathe around her. Somewhere, pipes knocked. A neighbor laughed. Life went on, indifferent. She thought of the people who hadn't made it out. Paul. Diane. Rhea. Names the world would never know. She thought of the moment she'd stood up and said no. Not because it saved her, but because it cost her. Maya opened her laptop again. She didn't go back to the forum. She started something new. A map. A list. Patterns. Names. Funding trails. Shell companies. Retreat centers in remote places with too much security and not enough oversight. If the system was alive, then so was resistance. Outside, far away, a private helicopter passed overhead, its shadow sliding briefly across her wall. Maya didn't flinch this time. She smiled, slow and tired and dangerous. Not aligned, she whispered to the empty room. And for the first time since the retreat, the silence didn't feel like obedience. It felt like a warning.